Across the vast sun-drenched landscapes of Africa, there is a rhythm, an ancient and powerful pulse that beats in time with the seasons. This pulse is not heard but felt, woven into the very air, the soil and the endless horizon. It is the silent conductor of life, orchestrating a symphony of movement and survival that has played out for millennia. This is the pulse of migration, a phenomenal spectacle of life on the move, driven by the relentless search for sustenance. Each year, millions of hooves thunder across the plains, tracing invisible lines that have been etched into the earth by generations past. These migrations are the lifeblood of the continent, a ceaseless ebb and flow that shapes every living thing in its path. It is far more than just a journey. It is a fundamental process that shapes the very fabric of the continent's ecosystems. From the smallest insect to the largest mammal, every creature is touched by this unseen force, their lives intertwined in a delicate balance of give and take. These epic travels are not random wanderings, but are instead deeply ingrained survival strategies, honed over countless millennia. Each step is guided by instinct, memory, and the subtle cues of the environment. Shifting winds, distant thunder, the scent of rain on parched earth. The animals that undertake these journeys are responding to the most basic of needs, the quest for green pastures and life-giving water, a response to the ever-shifting patterns of rainfall across the land. Rivers swell and shrink, grasslands flourish and fade, and the herds move in harmony with these cycles, forever chasing the promise of renewal. This constant movement is crucial for the health of the land itself. As millions of hooves pound the earth, they aerate the soil, while the animals grazing prevents grasslands from becoming overgrown and moribund. The rhythm of their passage is a natural pruning, a renewal that keeps the savanna vibrant and alive. They are nature's great gardeners, trimming the vegetation and ensuring new, tender shoots can emerge. Their dung enriches the soil, returning vital minerals to the earth and fertilizing the very plants they need to survive. Dung beetles and other creatures join in, breaking down waste and recycling nutrients, weaving another thread in the tapestry of life. This cyclical process ensures that the plains remain productive, capable of supporting the immense biodiversity that makes Africa so extraordinary. The journey of one animal becomes the lifeline for countless plants, insects, and other organisms that depend on this intricate web of interactions. The migrations also play a vital role in the dispersal of seeds. Many plant seeds are ingested by the herbivores and carried over vast distances before being deposited in a new location, ready to germinate with the next rains. This process helps to maintain the genetic diversity of plant life across enormous territories, preventing any single area from becoming ecologically isolated. Without these travelling gardeners, the rich tapestry of Africa's flora would be greatly diminished, and the landscapes we know today would look very different. The unseen pulse of migration is what keeps the continent's heart beating strong. The journey of one animal becomes the lifeline for countless plants, insects, and other organisms that depend on this intricate web of interactions. Every movement, every pause, every breath is part of a grand choreography, a dance of survival and adaptation. Ultimately, these great treks represent a profound connection between the animals and their environment. They are a testament to the resilience of life and its remarkable ability to adapt to a world of constant change. From the smallest gazelle to the largest elephant, each participant in these migrations is part of a grand, interconnected story. It is a story of struggle, of survival, and of the enduring power of nature to orchestrate one of the most breathtaking displays on our planet. Understanding these journeys is to understand the very heartbeat of wild Africa, a rhythm that we must strive to protect for all time. Here, in the unseen pulse of a continent, the wild endures, untamed, unbroken, and forever moving to the music of the land. Perhaps no migration is more famous, more documented than the Great Migration of the Serengeti. But at the heart of this epic journey lies a true river of life, both literal and metaphorical, a force that shapes the destinies of millions of animals each year. This is not merely a journey, it is a continuous circular pilgrimage covering some 800 kilometers across the plains of Tanzania and into the Masai Mara of Kenya. The migration itself mimics the flow of a river, with animals surging forward in a living current, their bodies pressed together in a ceaseless tide. It is a living, breathing river of animals, a tide of flesh and bone that flows in a clockwise direction, dictated by the ancient promise of rain. The river's banks are not of earth and stone, but of grass and dust, and its tributaries are the countless hooves that churn the soil. The sheer scale is almost impossible to comprehend. Imagine over 1.5 million blue wildebeest. Their grunting calls a constant low-frequency hum that vibrates through the very ground. Alongside them, hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles join the surge, each species playing a unique role in this ecological symphony. Wildebeest are the main actors in this incredible drama, the driving force of the entire procession. Zebras, with their striking black and white coats, often lead the way, their keen eyesight and memory for routes helping the herds avoid danger. Thompson's gazelles, nimble and alert, follow in the wake, grazing on the tender shoots left behind. The journey's timing is dictated by the life-giving rains. As the wet season transforms the southern Serengeti into a lush green expanse, the herds gather to feast and give birth. Here, between January and March, a remarkable event occurs, the synchronized birthing of wildebeest calves. In just a few weeks, 500,000 new lives are brought into the world. This is a deliberate evolutionary strategy, overwhelming the predators that lie in wait. Lions, cheetahs, and hyenas prowl the periphery, but with so many calves born at once, most will survive to join the march north. The river of life is not without peril. Predators are drawn to the migration like moths to a flame, their presence a constant threat. Yet the sheer abundance of prey ensures the survival of the many, even as the few fall. As the southern plains begin to dry up around April and May, the instinct to move becomes irresistible. The herds turn west and then north, a slow but relentless tide flowing towards the promise of greener pastures in the Masai Mara. The river's most dramatic challenge awaits, the crossing of actual rivers like the Grumeti and Mara. Here the migration's metaphor becomes reality. Wildebeest and zebra gather at the banks, hesitating, sensing the danger that lurks beneath the surface. The rivers are swollen and swift, their muddy waters concealing massive Nile crocodiles. The crossings are frantic and perilous. Animals leap, swim, and scramble, driven by instinct and the pressure of the herd behind them. Many make it across, but some are claimed by the current or by waiting jaws. Even in death, the migration sustains life. Carcasses left behind feed scavengers, vultures, marabou storks, and hyenas, while the river itself is nourished by the nutrients supporting fish and aquatic life downstream. The migration is a moving ecosystem, a super herd that transforms the landscape wherever it goes. Grazing animals trim the grasses, fertilize the soil, and open up space for new growth, while their passage shapes the very structure of the Savannah. It is a journey that has been repeated for millennia, an annual cycle of birth, death, and renewal that defines the Serengeti itself. The river of life flows on unbroken, sustaining not just the herds, but the entire web of life that depends on their passage. Across the vast African plains, a remarkable tapestry of alliances unfolds, alliances not born of intention, but of necessity and survival. Here the Great Migration is not simply a movement of one species, but a living, breathing collaboration among many, each playing a vital role in the grand design of the ecosystem. These alliances are most evident among the great herds of herbivores, zebras, wildebeest, and gazelles, whose fates are intertwined in ways both subtle and profound. Their cooperation, though unspoken, shapes the very landscape they traverse. Grant's zebras are the trailblazers, venturing first into the tall, fibrous grasses that dominate the plains. Their powerful digestive systems allow them to process these tough plants, which are often left untouched by others. As they graze, they trim the grass, exposing the tender shoots beneath and transforming the landscape for those that follow. This act of grazing is more than mere feeding. It is a form of ecosystem engineering. By clearing the way, zebras create opportunities for other species, setting the stage for a succession of grazers. Wildebeest, the great engines of the migration, follow closely behind. Their preference for shorter, more nutritious grasses means they benefit directly from the zebra's work. As they graze and move in vast numbers, they trample the earth, further modifying the environment and making it even more suitable for the next wave of grazers. This sequential grazing not only maximizes the use of available forage, but also helps maintain the health of the grasslands, preventing overgrowth and promoting new plant growth. The final members of this alliance are the Thompson's gazelles, or Tommies. These small, agile antelopes are the most selective feeders, seeking out only the freshest, most nutrient-rich shoots and herbs. They arrive after the larger herbivores have passed, taking advantage of the newly exposed, high-quality forage. For the gazelles, this strategy is essential. Their small size and high metabolic needs require them to find the best food available, and the work of the zebras and wildebeest makes this possible. Without the pioneering efforts of the zebras and the modifying influence of the wildebeest, the gazelles would struggle to find enough sustenance in the tall, coarse grasses. This three-tiered alliance is a classic example of niche partitioning, where different species coexist by utilizing the same resource in distinct ways. Each animal, by following its own survival strategy, contributes to the success of the whole. But the alliances on the plains extend beyond these three. Birds such as oxpeckers ride on the backs of large herbivores, feeding on ticks and parasites, providing relief to their hosts while gaining a steady food source. Egrets follow herds, snatching up insects disturbed by the movement of hooves. Even predators, though competitors, play a role in maintaining the balance. By targeting the weak or sick, they help keep the herds healthy and the ecosystem in equilibrium. The ecological benefits of these alliances are profound. They increase the efficiency of resource use, reduce competition, and help maintain the diversity and productivity of the grasslands. Each species, by fulfilling its role, supports the survival of many others. Survival on the plains is a matter of adaptation and cooperation. The alliances formed here, though unlikely and unplanned, are a testament to the power of nature's interconnectedness. In this ever-shifting landscape, the success of one is tied to the success of all. The great migrations, the daily search for food, and the constant vigilance against danger, all are shaped by these intricate relationships. And so, year after year, the river of life flows across the plains, driven by the collective strength and resilience of its wild inhabitants, each one a vital thread in the fabric of the Savannah. The epic journey of the migrating herds is far from a peaceful procession. Instead, it is a relentless gauntlet, a life-or-death struggle where only the strongest and luckiest survive. Every step of the 800-kilometer trek is fraught with danger. The land is littered with the remains of those who could not endure, a stark reminder that survival is never guaranteed. It is estimated that 250,000 animals perish each year, claimed by the unforgiving journey. The threats come in many forms. Hunger gnaws at empty bellies as the herds search for dwindling patches of grass. Thirst drives them to shrinking waterholes where the competition is fierce and the risk of disease is high. The land itself becomes an adversary, with treacherous terrain, jagged rocks and sudden storms turning the savannah into a battlefield of endurance. But perhaps the most dramatic and deadly obstacles are the rivers. The grumeti, and most famously the Mara, become terrifying arenas of chaos and survival. Herds gather at the banks, their nervous energy building as the water churns before them. The tension is palpable. At last, a single brave or desperate individual makes the first leap, triggering a stampede as thousands surge into the muddy, swirling water. The river becomes a torrent of bodies, hooves thrashing, eyes wide with fear. The currents are powerful, capable of sweeping away even the strongest adults. The steep, slippery banks trap and crush the weak and the young. Many will drown in the panic, their bodies a tragic testament to the river's power. Yet the water holds another, more ancient terror, the Nile crocodile. These giant reptiles, some of the largest in Africa, lie in wait for this annual feast. They have waited patiently for months, and as the herds plunge into the rivers, they launch their attacks with explosive force. Their powerful jaws snap shut on flailing legs and struggling bodies, dragging victims below the surface in a swirl of water and desperation. For the crocodiles, this is a time of plenty, a crucial period that will sustain them for the rest of the year. For the wildebeest and zebra, it is the most terrifying and perilous moment of their entire journey. The river crossing is a test of courage and luck, where a single misstep can mean the end. But the rivers are not the only threat. Beyond the water, the ever-present danger of predation stalks the herds across the open plains. Lions, spotted hyenas, leopards and cheetahs follow the migration, seeing it as a mobile feast. They are masters of the ambush, picking off the old, the sick, the young and the unwary. The synchronized birthing on the southern plains helps to mitigate this threat, as thousands of calves are born within a short window, overwhelming predators with sheer numbers. Still, the danger is constant, and every day is a battle of wits and speed, a deadly dance between hunter and hunted. The relentless pressure of predation and the harshness of the environment ensure that only the fittest survive. The weak and the slow are left behind, claimed by the jaws of predators or the unforgiving landscape. It is a harsh but essential element of natural selection, shaping the herds and ensuring their strength for generations to come. While the Serengeti's drama captures the world's imagination, it is by no means the only epic migration on the African continent. Across Africa, a tapestry of lesser-known, yet equally astonishing animal migrations unfolds each year, each with its own unique story, route, and ecological impact. To the north, in the vast wetlands and savannas of South Sudan, an even larger, though less famous, migration takes place. Here, not only do white-eared kob, tiang and Mongala gazelle traverse the landscape, but the region also supports the seasonal movements of bohor reedbuck and oribi, all responding to the pulse of the rains and the swelling of the Sud wetlands. This is the Great Nile Migration, a breathtaking movement of animals that was only recently confirmed to be the largest land migration on Earth. The sheer biomass of these herds shapes the very structure of the ecosystem, fertilizing the land and supporting a web of life that depends on their passage. Here, staggering numbers of antelope, including over 5 million white-eared kob, hundreds of thousands of tiang, and countless Mongala gazelle move in synchrony, their hooves carving ancient paths between Badingilo and Boma national parks. Alongside them, smaller species like the bohor, reedbuck and oribi weave through the tall grasses, each migration a vital thread in the region's ecological fabric. These migrations are driven by the seasonal flooding and drying of the Sud wetlands, a dynamic force that shapes the lives of all who depend on its cycles. Even the skies above teem with life as flocks of waterbirds, like the rare shoebill stork, follow the receding waters, feeding on the bounty left behind by the migrating herds. Further south, in the arid landscapes of Botswana, another remarkable journey unfolds. Here, the red lechwe antelope perform their own seasonal migration, moving between the Okavango Delta's floodplains and the drier grasslands as the waters rise and fall. This region is also home to the Chobe-Ntsai pan-zebra migration, recognized as the longest linear land migration in Africa. and the lesser-known Makgadigadi wildebeest migration, where thousands of wildebeest traverse the shimmering salt pans in search of fresh grazing. Thousands of birdshells, zebras and wildebeest undertake monumental round trips of nearly 1,000 kilometers, their movements vital for dispersing seeds and cycling nutrients across the landscape. As the rains transform the salt pans into shallow lakes, they also attract vast flocks of flamingos, whose own migrations are timed to the ephemeral waters and the explosion of algae and invertebrates. For a brief window, these barren landscapes become a paradise, supporting a burst of life that echoes across the food chain. These journeys are a testament to the animals' incredible navigational abilities and their instinctual knowledge of where and when to find these fleeting resources. Even Africa's gentle giants, the elephants, are great travelers. Alongside them, African buffalo herds embark on their own migrations, moving between floodplains and woodlands as water and grazing shift with the seasons. Elephants do not follow fixed, rigid migratory routes like wildebeest, but instead engage in vast, complex movements guided by memory and social learning, while buffalo herds respond to the ebb and flow of water and grass. The matriarch of an elephant herd, the oldest and wisest female, holds a mental map of the landscape, while buffalo herds rely on experienced leaders to guide them through challenging terrain. These leaders remember the locations of dozens, sometimes hundreds of water sources, some of which may only be available in the driest of years. Their knowledge ensures the survival of their herds, especially during times of drought, when only the most resourceful can find the hidden lifelines scattered across the land. Some of these journeys span thousands of kilometers, such as the elephants of Mali, who undertake an astonishing 32,000-kilometer annual circuit, a colossal journey that highlights their intelligence and immense need for space. These migrations are not only feats of endurance, but also vital for maintaining the health of Africa's wild places, as the animals disperse seeds, fertilize soils, and shape the very landscapes they traverse. The scale of these movements is staggering, a living reminder of the wild rhythms that have shaped Africa for millennia. In the dry heartlands of southern Africa, the springbok undertake their own unique form of migration, joined by gemsbok herds that traverse the Namib and Kalahari deserts in search of fresh grazing after rare rains. These elegant antelopes do not follow a set seasonal schedule, but instead engage in what are known as dispersed or eruptive migrations, moving unpredictably as they track the shifting patterns of rainfall. They are nomadic opportunists following localized rainfall events across the Kalahari, Karoo and Namib deserts, converging in vast numbers when conditions are right. When the rains fall in a particular area, springbok and gemsbok will converge upon it, creating sudden, spectacular gatherings that transform the landscape. This unpredictable movement is a perfect adaptation to an environment where resources are scattered and ephemeral, and where survival depends on the ability to move swiftly and decisively. Across Africa, other lesser-known species, like the puku of Zambia's floodplains, the tsessebe of southern savannas, and the hartebeest of the Sahel, embark on their own migrations, each journey a vital part of the continent's living mosaic. These migrations, great and small, showcase the extraordinary adaptability and resilience of Africa's wildlife, and the intricate connections that bind animals, landscapes, and the cycles of the seasons together in a never-ending dance of survival. The great migrations are not confined to the land. Above the endless plains and winding rivers, the African sky becomes a living tapestry, woven with the wings of countless birds on their epic odysseys. The African skies are host to equally impressive journeys undertaken by millions of birds. Each wingbeat is a note in a symphony of movement, a testament to endurance and instinct. These feathered nomads traverse immense distances, their paths etched by the seasons, the silent pull of the stars, and the invisible lines of the Earth's magnetic field. They ride the winds, crossing deserts and mountains, rivers and forests, guided by ancient wisdom written in their very bones. Among the most spectacular of these aerial ballets is the migration of the lesser flamingo, a living river of pink that rises from the shimmering soda lake. Between 2 and 3 million of these radiant birds sweep between the alkaline lakes of East and Southern Africa, from the caustic waters of Lake Natron to the steaming shores of Lake Bogoria. Their journey is a dance with the elements, a pursuit of the spirulina blooms that paint their feathers with the blush of dawn. They feed in unison, their slender necks dipping and swirling, transforming the lakes into living mosaics of colour and motion. The rhythm of their migration is the heartbeat of the lakes themselves. Africa is also a sanctuary for countless birds that journey from distant continents, seeking refuge from the cold embrace of northern winters. Here wetlands and grasslands become havens, alive with the flutter and call of new arrivals. The great Rift Valley stretches like a celestial highway, guiding flocks along its ancient contours. It is a corridor of life, a bridge between worlds, where the sky itself seems to pulse with the passage of wings. Each autumn, hundreds of thousands of white storks ascend on rising thermals, gliding in effortless formation, their shadows fleeting across the golden savanna as they journey southward. Alongside them, majestic birds of prey, like the endangered steppe eagle, trace invisible paths from the steppes of Central Asia to the heart of Africa, their keen eyes scanning the land below. These long-distance voyages are the threads that bind continents, their annual passages a living reminder of the planet's deep interconnectedness. The fate of distant lands is carried on their wings, linking the health of one region to another, thousands of kilometers apart. Among these aerial wanderers, the tiny Egyptian vulture stands as a marvel of endurance and navigation. The smallest vulture in Europe, it braves a formidable journey, over 4,000 kilometers each way, crossing seas and deserts to reach the sun-baked lands of sub-Saharan Africa. Year after year, these birds return with unerring precision to the same nesting grounds, guided by memories older than any map, by instincts as ancient as the wind, yet their journeys are fraught with peril. The sky, once boundless, is now laced with obstacles, towers and wires that threaten with silent danger. Power lines and wind turbines loom as deadly hazards, while shrinking wetlands and vanishing stopover sites leave weary travellers with nowhere to rest, nowhere to feed. The ancient routes grow fragile, their future uncertain, yet wherever they pass, these avian migrations breathe life into the land. They are the pulse of the ecosystem, stirring the air, awakening the earth. Birds become pollinators, scattering seeds on the wind, and guardians of balance, keeping insect populations in check. Their presence shapes the very fabric of the wild. The arrival of migratory flocks signals the turning of the seasons, weaving new threads into the web of life and bringing a surge of energy to the food web below. From the shimmering clouds of flamingos that transform the lakes into living jewels to the solitary eagle gliding at dawn's first light, the journeys of these feathered nomads are poetry in motion, an epic written not on the earth but in the boundless, ever-changing sky. Their flight is the breath of Africa, a story of resilience, beauty, and the eternal dance of life. The great migrations are a time of abundance, not only for the vast herds of herbivores, but for the predators whose very survival depends on this seasonal movement. As the endless columns of wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle surge across the plains, a silent tension builds, a primal contest of wit, strength, and endurance. The arrival of the herds transforms the savannah into a living chessboard where every move can mean life or death. Predators, honed by generations of evolution, read the shifting patterns of the herds, seeking out the weak, the distracted, or the isolated. Prey, in turn, rely on vigilance, speed, and the safety of numbers, each individual acutely aware that danger lurks in every shadow. For lions, the apex predators of these plains, the migration is both opportunity and challenge. Their prides shift territories, tracking the herd's movements, sometimes traveling great distances to remain close to the migrating feast. The pride's survival hinges on their ability to adapt, to anticipate the unpredictable paths of the herds, and to defend their territory from rival lions drawn by the same promise of prey. The lionesses, masters of stealth and teamwork, orchestrate complex ambushes. They fan out through the tall grass, communicating with subtle signals, using the cover of dusk or darkness to close in. Each hunt is a test of patience and precision as they single out the vulnerable, calves separated from their mothers, the old or the injured. The explosive charge, the coordinated attack, and the final struggle are all part of a relentless cycle that shapes the destiny of both predator and prey. Yet the herds are not defenseless. Wildebeest form tight clusters, their sheer numbers confusing and intimidating would-be attackers. Mothers shield their calves, and the strongest individuals form a living barrier against the onslaught. The outcome of each encounter is uncertain, a testament to the delicate balance of power that governs the savannah. The cheetah, a solitary specialist, relies on speed and surprise. With eyes fixed on the swift Thompson's gazelles that trail the migration, it stalks low, calculating every step. When the moment is right, it unleashes a burst of speed, nearly 100 kilometers per hour, closing the gap in seconds. The chase is a blur of motion, a contest of acceleration and agility where a single misstep can mean failure, but even victory is fraught with peril. The cheetah, built for speed rather than strength, must eat quickly, always alert for the approach of lions or hyenas. A successful hunt can be stolen in an instant, forcing the cheetah to abandon its hard-won meal and retreat into the grass, hungry but alive. Spotted hyenas, often misunderstood, are among the savannah's most formidable hunters. Their clans operate with military precision, communicating with eerie whoops and cackles as they coordinate attacks. They can run for miles, wearing down their prey with relentless pursuit, and their powerful jaws make short work of even the toughest bones. Hyenas are not merely scavengers, they are expert hunters capable of bringing down adult wildebeest through teamwork and endurance. Their ability to consume every part of a carcass ensures that nothing is wasted, recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. As the migration pushes onward, hyena clans shadow the herds, ever watchful for opportunity. They clean up after river crossings where the weak and exhausted fall, and scavenge the remains of lion kills, playing a vital role as the savannah's cleanup crew. In this grand spectacle, every animal is both hunter and hunted, strategist and survivor. The predator-prey dynamic is a relentless arms race, driving innovation and adaptation on both sides. It is a story written in dust and blood, where only the most cunning, the most resilient, and the most adaptable endure. This is the shadow of the hunter, a world where survival is never guaranteed, and every day is a new chapter in the epic saga of Africa's wild migrations. For countless generations, the great migrations have pulsed across the African continent, following routes shaped by the land, the seasons, and the instincts of the animals themselves. These pathways, ancient and enduring, are woven into the very fabric of the wild. Yet even in the absence of human interference, nature itself can alter these ancient routes. Rivers shift their courses, grasslands become deserts, and forests reclaim open plains. When the land transforms, the animals must adapt. A once reliable river may dry up, forcing herds to seek new watering holes. A sudden flood can create lakes where none existed before, blocking familiar trails and demanding new paths be found. Instinct and memory guide them, but adaptation is essential. The herds learn to read the subtle signs of the land, shifts in the wind, the scent of distant rain, the call of birds that signal water ahead. Sometimes the journey becomes a test of endurance and ingenuity. Elephants may break new trails through dense brush, while antelope pick their way across rocky outcrops, forging routes that will be followed by generations to come. The migrations are not always a single, unbroken river of life. Herds may split and rejoin, some taking risks to cross uncertain ground, others waiting for the land to change again. In times of drought, the search for water becomes desperate. Animals dig into the dry earth, hoping to find moisture below the surface, while others press onward, driven by the promise of rain on the horizon. When the rains finally come, the land is transformed, fresh grass springs up, and the herds are rewarded for their perseverance. Calves are born into the world of abundance, and the cycle of migration continues. But the rhythms of nature are never certain. Storms may come early or late, and the animals must remain ever watchful, ever adaptable to survive. Each migration is a journey into the unknown, shaped by the land and the weather, by memory and instinct, by the need to adapt to a world in constant flux. Through all these changes, the animals endure. Their migrations are a testament to resilience, to the power of adaptation, and to the ancient bond between life and the land. Even as old pathways are severed by the forces of nature, new ones are born, etched by the hooves of those who dare to seek a way forward. The story of migration is one of change and adaptation, a living legacy written across the ever-shifting face of Africa. As long as the wild endures, so too will the journeys, ancient, ever-changing, and forever a part of the continent's soul. Across the vast African plains, a silent force of guardians watches over the ancient migration routes. These are not people, but the keystone species, elephants, lions, and other remarkable animals, whose very presence shapes and protects the land. The future of these incredible journeys depends on the balance maintained by these animal guardians, whose daily lives ensure the survival of countless others. Elephants, the architects of the Savannah, open up ancient corridors as they travel, clearing the way for zebras, wildebeest, and antelope to follow. These herds, in their millions, act as living rivers, trampling down tall grasses, fertilizing the soil, and keeping the land open for all who depend on it. Predators like lions and cheetahs play their part as guardians, keeping the herds healthy by culling the weak and ensuring the strong continue the journey. Even the scavengers, vultures, hyenas, jackals are vital, swiftly returning nutrients to the earth and preventing the spread of disease. The simple act of an elephant breaking through a thicket can reopen a blocked route, allowing the great march to continue unimpeded. Each animal, from the smallest gazelle to the mightiest elephant, plays a role in maintaining the delicate web of migration. Grazers keep the grasslands trimmed, preventing bush encroachment and supporting the open spaces needed for migration. As elephants travel, they disperse seeds far and wide, planting the next generation of trees and nourishing the land for all. Over time, these animal-made corridors become the lifelines of the savannah, guiding generations of wildlife along the same ancient routes. The great migrations are not just a spectacle. They are the heartbeat of Africa, sustaining the land and all its creatures. Birds follow the herds, feasting on insects and helping to control pests, while their calls echo across the plains. Even the river's guardians, the crocodiles, are part of this balance, shaping the drama of the crossing and ensuring the cycle continues. The protection of these migrations is the work of the animals themselves, each one a guardian of the land, each step a promise of renewal. Together they maintain the balance, ensuring that the savannah remains a place of abundance and wonder. To witness the great march is to see the guardians at work, nature's own protectors, keeping the ancient pathways open for all time. It is their legacy, passed from one generation to the next, ensuring that the great migrations and the balance of life endure forever. The guardians of the Great March are the animals themselves, keystone species whose every movement sustains the magnificent, beating heart of Africa. As dusk settles across the African plains, a new migration begins, one hidden from the daytime world. The sun's departure signals the rise of nocturnal travelers, bats, owls, and countless insects, each embarking on their own remarkable journeys beneath the cloak of darkness. High above, vast clouds of bats take wing, guided by echoes and the faintest glimmer of starlight. These silent navigators travel astonishing distances each night, weaving through the shadows to hunt for insects and fruit. Their nightly migrations play a crucial role in controlling pests and pollinating plants, quietly shaping the ecosystem from above. Below, the silent flight of owls begins, with feathers engineered for stealth and eyes adapted to the faintest light. These master hunters glide effortlessly across the savannah. Their keen senses allow them to track the smallest movement, ensuring the balance of life continues even when the world sleeps. On the ground, armies of nocturnal insects, moths, beetles, and crickets march unseen. Some follow the scent of distant blooms, others are drawn by the moon, each one a crucial link in the web of night. As they move, they pollinate, decompose, and nourish the earth, fueling the cycle of life for the coming dawn. Together, these nocturnal migrators form a hidden network of movement and renewal. Their journeys, though rarely seen, are vital threads in the fabric of the African night. In the darkness, life does not pause. It thrives, guided by instincts as ancient as the stars themselves. The secret lives of these night travelers reveal another side of Africa's great migrations, one of quiet endurance, invisible connections, and the endless rhythm of life that pulses even in the shadows. Beneath the feet of giants and above the whispering grass, another migration unfolds, one measured not in hooves or wingspans, but in millions of tiny bodies moving in unison. Across Africa, insects such as locusts and butterflies embark on journeys as dramatic and far-reaching as any mammal or bird. A single swarm of locusts can stretch for miles, darkening the sky as they ride the winds in search of new feeding grounds. Their arrival transforms the landscape, consuming everything in their path and leaving a trail that reshapes entire ecosystems. For predators and scavengers, these swarms offer a feast. For plants and smaller creatures, a challenge of survival. In vibrant contrast, clouds of butterflies, delicate yet determined, flutter across the continent, following ancient routes between breeding and feeding sites. Their migrations are essential for pollinating wildflowers, maintaining the health of grasslands and forests, and supporting countless other species that depend on these blooms. Each insect migration is a marvel of natural engineering. Locusts synchronize their movements through subtle chemical signals, acting as a single living organism. Butterflies read the invisible cues of wind and temperature, navigating across vast distances with pinpoint accuracy. These mass movements ripple through the food web. Birds, bats, and even small mammals adjust their own migrations to coincide with insect abundance, relying on these seasonal travelers for sustenance. In turn, the insects fertilize the soil, spread seeds, and ensure the renewal of habitat. In the great tapestry of migrations, insects are both architects and caretakers. Their journeys may be less visible, but their impact shapes the fate of all who share the land. The pulse of their movement is a quiet force, one that binds the wild heart of Africa together season after season. Beneath the shimmering surfaces of Africa's rivers and lakes, a different kind of migration is underway, one unseen by most, yet vital to the continent's living rhythm. Here, in the cool, shadowed depths, fish, amphibians, and aquatic mammals embark on epic journeys, tracing ancient routes carved by water and time. Each year, vast shoals of fish, like the silver-scaled Nile perch and the agile tigerfish, move upstream, driven by the promise of new spawning grounds. These migrations are perilous, challenged by swift currents, hungry crocodiles, and the ever-shifting moods of the river. For each individual, the journey is a test of endurance and instinct, their fate entwined with the pulse of the water. In the shallows, amphibians such as frogs and toads begin their own odysseys. Following the call of distant rains, they traverse muddy banks and flooded grasslands, converging in temporary pools where life will begin anew. Their chorus fills the night, a signal that the ancient cycle continues. Even beneath the water's surface, giants travel. Hippos, though often still and territorial, may traverse long distances along submerged corridors, seeking fresh pastures and deeper pools. Their movements reshape riverbanks and create channels that become highways for countless smaller creatures. Yet these underwater highways are not without obstacles. Droughts shrink the lifelines of rivers, fragmenting habitats and stranding travelers. Invasive plants choke waterways, while pollution and silt cloud the paths once clear to migrating shoals. For every aquatic journey, survival depends on the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Despite these challenges, the migrations persist. They sustain not only the travelers themselves, but also the crocodiles, otters, and birds that depend on their abundance. As the wet season returns and rivers swell, the underwater highways come alive once more, a silent procession, ancient and enduring, that shapes the fate of Africa's waters. In the grand mosaic of migrations, these aquatic journeys remain a hidden wonder. Their story is written in the ripples of a river, the leap of a fish, the silent drift of a hippo at dusk, an enduring testament to life's resilience beneath the surface. Across Africa's vast savannas, a drama of movement unfolds, a sweeping tide of life set in motion by the heartbeat of the seasons. As the rains retreat and the grasses wither, herds of wildebeest, zebras and gazelles sense the subtle shift in the air. Guided by ancient instincts and the scent of distant storms, they begin their epic migrations, traversing hundreds of kilometers in search of fresh grazing grounds and life-giving water. This immense journey is more than a search for sustenance, it is the pulse that sustains the entire ecosystem. As the herbivores advance, they trim the grasses, aerate the soil, and disperse seeds, shaping the very landscape they depend on. In their wake, the predators follow. Lions, cheetahs, and hyenas shadow the migrating herds, their survival intertwined with the great march of the grazers. The rhythm of the Savannah migration is dictated by the rains. When the first drops fall, parched earth gives way to lush green, and the herds shift once more, following the renewal. Calves are born into this season of abundance, their first steps taken amid a world in flux. Yet the journey is fraught with peril. Rivers swollen by rain become deadly obstacles, while hidden predators lurk in the tall grass. The relentless pace spares few. The weak and the weary often fall behind, claimed by the unforgiving landscape. Still, the cycle continues, each migration weaving together predator and prey, grass and grazer in an intricate web of survival. In these endless migrations, the savanna breathes and thrives. The pulse of the plains is the pulse of Africa itself, a testament to the power of seasonal change and the enduring resilience of life on the move. Across the African continent, an unseen conductor raises an invisible baton, the changing seasons orchestrating a symphony of movement and life. As winter's dry breath gives way to the promise of rain, the landscape transforms, rivers swell, forests awaken, and grasslands shimmer with new growth. Each note in this seasonal overture cues a different player in nature's ensemble. The great herds of wildebeest and zebra begin their immense journey, drawn by the scent of distant storms and the promise of green pastures. Elephants, too, sense the subtle shift, the coolness in the breeze, the whisper of thunder, and set out along ancient trails to waterholes reborn with the rains. High above, flocks of storks and bee-eaters ride the thermal currents, their wings charting invisible highways that span continents. Their migrations perfectly timed with the flush of insect life after the first downpour. In the woodlands, antelope move with the rhythm of blooming acacias, their migrations guided by the flowering of trees and the arrival of fruit. Even the smallest creatures, the butterflies and dragonflies, respond to the seasonal call, their journeys spanning hundreds of miles in search of breeding grounds that appear only with the rains. Every living being listens for the cue, the frog's chorus at dusk, the scent of damp earth, the flash of colour as flowers erupt from the ground. The timing is precise, the routes ever-changing, yet all are bound by the same elemental force. In this grand symphony, there are no soloists, only a chorus of life, each species playing its part in a composition millions of years in the making. The seasons are both maestro and muse, guiding the movements of creatures great and small, weaving together survival, renewal, and the eternal dance of migration. As the rains fall and the land awakens, Africa's wild heart beats in time with the symphony of the seasons. Beneath the vast skies and rolling plains, Africa's great migrations are not just shaped by instinct and season, but by the silent work of nature's own architects. Across the Savannah, elephants carve winding trails with their massive feet, forging pathways through dense brush and thick forest. These living bulldozers open corridors that countless other species follow, from timid antelope to prowling predators, each step made easier by the giants who went before. Hidden below the surface, tiny termites become master builders. Their towering mounds rise like earthen skyscrapers, altering the flow of rainwater and enriching the soil. Around these fortresses, lush grasses spring to life, attracting grazers in search of fresh forage. The mounds themselves become islands of fertility, shaping the very pattern of migration for herds that depend on the bounty they provide. In the wetlands, beavers, though rare in Africa, and their distant cousins, the industrious otters, transform waterways. Their dams and lodges slow the rush of streams, creating pools that become havens for birds, amphibians, and fish. These aquatic engineers sculpt landscapes that sustain entire communities, guiding the movements of creatures drawn to water's edge. Even the smallest creatures play their part in this grand design. Dung beetles clear paths by rolling their precious cargo, while burrowing insects aerate the earth, making it easier for plants to take root. Each species, in its own way, becomes a builder, shaping the land, creating habitats, and paving the way for the next wave of travellers. In Africa's ever-changing wilderness, these architects of the wild are the unsung guides of migration. Their silent labours knit together the fabric of the land, ensuring that the ancient rhythms of movement continue, unbroken, unending, and forever wild. Africa's ancient migrations, once as predictable as the sunrise, now face an uncertain horizon. Across plains and rivers, the great herds and flocks must navigate a world transformed, not by the hand of man, but by the shifting climate and the pulse of the planet itself. Rainfall patterns grow erratic. Rivers that once flowed with certainty now vanish in drought or swell in sudden floods. Grasslands shrink and expand, their boundaries redrawn by heat and storm. In this ever-changing landscape, the animals adapt. Wildebeest, once guided by the memory of green pastures, now rely on sharper senses, smelling distant rain on the wind, reading subtle cues in the soil, and altering their ancient routes in search of survival. Birds, too, adjust their journeys. Some depart earlier, riding new wind currents as the seasons blur. Others linger longer, testing the resilience of their wings and the promise of unfamiliar stopovers. Along the coastlines, sea turtles shift their nesting grounds, driven by warming sands and rising tides. In the forests, elephants and primates extend their ranges, seeking fruit and shade where once there was plenty. Predators follow, their fate entwined with the shifting paths of prey. Crocodiles wait in drying riverbeds, lions pace new territories, and raptors soar above altered grasslands, each recalibrating their strategies, their instincts tuned to the changing drumbeat of the wild. Yet amidst the upheaval, resilience emerges. Some species form new alliances, herds mingling and learning from one another. Others discover hidden refuges, pockets of water, islands of greenery where life endures against the odds. The architects of the wild continue their silent work, adapting their constructions to the rhythms of a warming world. In Africa's future, migration is a story of challenge and transformation. The ancient paths may shift, but the drive to move, adapt, and survive remains undiminished. Across the continent, the great migrations continue, ever-changing, ever-enduring, and forever wild.